Yeah, good morning students. So we will deal with module 3 bandwidth utilization. So what do you mean by bandwidth utilization? It is how well you can use the available bandwidth to achieve the goal. Efficiency can be improved or achieved by using multiplexing, privacy and anti-jamming whenever you are spreading a signal. So we deal with each of the concept. The first concept is multiplexing. So today we will be discussing about multiplexing. So what is multiplexing? Multiplexing is a technique where when there are n number of input lines passed through a device called multiplexer, it can simultaneously transmit all the multiple signal across a single data link. So in this system, what happens is the n line which are given as input to the multiplexer will share the bandwidth of a single link as shown in the figure below. So this is the basic format of an multiplex system where you have n input lines which are passed as an input for a multiplexer. So as an output of multiplexer, all these n channels are transformed into a simultaneous channel where it is a single link with n channels. So this is done at the sender end. So at the receiver end you have demultiplexer. The application of demultiplexer is to convert this one channel line back to n output lines. So we'll discuss more regarding this. So if you see this diagram, the lines on the left are the input channels which are able to transmit through a multiplexer. So the aim or the multiplexer, the functionality of the multiplexer is to convert all this n input lines into a single transmission stream. So here what type of relationship or mapping is happening? So n input lines are combined into a single line or a single stream of data. But at the receiver end, this single stream of data is fed to a demultiplexer which will separate each channel into its corresponding stream. Here the relation applied is 1 to many. So from this figure we can refer this as a physical path where each channel refers to the portion of link which carries the data. So here channel are denoted as different lines. So in order to learn more about the multiplexing techniques, there are three widely available techniques. One is frequency division multiplexing, wavelength division multiplexing and time division multiplexing. So your multiplexing can be broadly divided into frequency division, wavelength division and time division. So what is frequency division multiplexing? So what do you mean by an analog signal and a digital signal? So whenever a signal is in a sinusoidal wave, that is it has a particular frequency and amplitude with respect to the time, you call that type of transmission as analog signal. To understand it in a simple way, your analog signal can be your sinusoidal wave. So your frequency division multiplexing and wavelength division multiplexing are part of analog signal where each of the bandwidth link are measured in some hertz. So frequency is always measured in some hertz. FDM generates a signal by sending device to its carrier frequency. So this modulated signal will be combined into a single composite line with the help of multiplexer. So here you can see the bandwidth of the link is divided into three channels. So if the available bandwidth is say 3 kilohertz, then each channel can get 1 kilohertz of data. So at the demultiplexer, what happens? All this 3 channel data is again converted into its corresponding output lines. So in order to know more about the multiplexing process, here each signal or of frequency is divided into carrier frequency F1, F2, F3 as shown in the figure. So these are the analog signals which are got from baseband. So depending upon that, assume the first sine wave generated will have a frequency of F1 and this has F2 and F3. Now this signal is passed through a modulator. So what is the application of a modulator? It has to convert all your sinusoidal wave into composite signal. So this is a composite signal which is got by superimposing all this sine waves. So once you superimpose all the sine waves, so you are getting this composite sine wave. So this composite sine wave will be transmitted from the sender end to the receiver end. So we'll see what happens at the receiver end. So in the receiver end, the demultiplexing process happens where the user uses a series of filters in order to filter back the data from the composite signal to its corresponding analog signals. So in this case, then it is passed into demodulator to get back the baseband analog signals back. So this is the process. So different n number of sinusoidal wave are superimposed and this superimposed signal will be passed from sender to receiver over a channel of a particular bandwidth, and this superimposed sine signal when reaches the receiver, it is passed through a demux or a demultiplexer where it has a different filters to filter out the superimposed sine waves into its corresponding analog signals with the carrier frequency of F1, F2 and F3. In the previous class we discussed about what is frequency division multiplexing. So we'll see some problems on frequency division and multiplexing and its application. So assume that you have a voice channel that occupies bandwidth of 4 kHz. We need to combine 3 voice channels into a link with bandwidth of 12 kHz from 20 to 32 kHz. Show that the configuration by using the diagram using your frequency domain. Assume that there are no guard bands. So in order to solve this problem, we modulate each voice signals into different bandwidth. So we know each bandwidth can occupy 4 kHz, that is from 0 to 4. So in order to modulate it, we are passing it through a multiplexer. So we know the minimum frequency is 20 kHz. So the first frequency will take data from 20 to 24 kHz. For second, it is from 24 to 28. Similarly, for third, it is from 28 to 32. All of this analog signals are multiplexed and a composite signal is formed with the frequency 20 kHz to 32 kHz. Now this is passed from sender to receiver. So at the receiver end, we will apply a demultiplexer where this composite signal is passed through the band pass filter which is capable of filtering a particular band of frequency. Now we will be able to get the analog signals individually which can be transmitted or reached to the receiver. So we'll deal with one more example. 5 channels each with 100 kHz bandwidth are multiplexed together. What is the minimum bandwidth of the link if there is a need of guard band of 10 kHz between the channel to prevent interference? So what is the use of guard band? So guard band will prevent interference between the channels. So to deal with this, we have 5 channels and each channel will require 100 kHz of bandwidth. So 500 kHz is required for channel itself, and it is also said that there are guard bands with 10 kHz. So if there are 5 channels, how many guard bands do we require? We require 1, 2, 3 and 4 guard bands. So So it will be 5 into 100 for 5 channels plus 4 into 10 for God band. So totally 540 kilohertz is required in order to transmit this data from sender to receiver. So we'll deal with one more example. Here 4 data channels are transmitting with 1 Mbps using a satellite channel of 1 kilohertz. Design an appropriate configuration using FDM. We know the output bandwidth is 1 megahertz and we also know this has to be shared by 4 data channels. So what you can do, one more important thing to notice, your data channels are in digital. So we know that your frequency division multiplexing works for analog signal. So there is a need of converting your digital signal into analog signal. So we can do this by converting your digital signal of each 1 Mbps into an analog signal of 250 kilohertz by passing it to 16 QAM scheme. What do you mean by QAM? It is quadrature amplitude modulation. By doing this, you are converting your digital signal into analog signal. Since this 1 megahertz has to be shared between 4 channels, each channel capacity would be 250 kilohertz. So this is the possible configuration for the data given. Next we'll discuss what are the applications of your frequency division multiplexing. One of the application is it can be used as an analog carrier system. So in order to maximize any infrastructure for that matter, if it is a telephone channel or an internet with an higher bandwidth lines, FDM is used. One of the hierarchical system which is used are groups. Groups will make supergroups. Supergroups will make master groups and master group will make jumbo group. So in order to explain more about this, see here, when n channels, for example, your 12 voice channels are multiplexed using your frequency division multiplexing, all this are grouped into a single group of 48 kilohertz because 12 into 4 is 48. So this channel is capable of holding 48 kilohertz of data. You have 5 groups of such kind. So a supergroup can be formed using 12 5 60 voice channels with the capacity of 48 into 5 which is 240 kilohertz. So now this supergroups, there are 10 such supergroups. So whenever it is multiplexed again, it forms the master group. So in master group, so there are 10 channels of the frequency. So there are totally 10 into 60, 600 voice channel and capacity of each channel is 240 kilohertz. So when you multiply, you will get around 2.52 megahertz of bandwidth. So this is called as your master group. This master groups are 6 in numbers. So you will be having around 3600 voice channels of an bandwidth 16.984 megahertz. This is a jumbo group. So finally your jumbo group can consist of 3600 voice channels parallelly without any interference. So we'll see one more application of frequency division multiplexing. It is used in AM and FM radio broadcasting. So what happens in your radio broadcasting is you will have a particular channel, that is a particular band. For example, if the allotted frequency is between 530 to 1700 kilohertz is assigned to an AM radio, all radio stations needs to share this band. So each AM can support 10 kilohertz of bandwidth and this has to be used using multiplexing. But one more important thing to notice, the transmission medium here is air. So a receiver can receive all these signals, but you require filters in order to tune to that particular station as the broadcasting medium is air. However, we do not know whether the physical multiplexing and demultiplication, demultiplexing is done here. So it is always done at the data link layer. So one more application of your frequency division multiplexing is it is used in TV channel with the bandwidth of 6 megahertz. The first generation of cellular telephones also used frequency division multiplexing with the bandwidth of 3 kilohertz. We'll see one more example. So this is AMPS, that is Advanced Mobile Phone System. It uses two bands. The first band is from 824 to 849 megahertz. This is used for sending. 869 to 894 megahertz, which is used for receiving. Each user has a bandwidth of 30 kilohertz in each direction, and 3 kilohertz voice is modulated using frequency multiplexing, creating 30 kilohertz of modulated signal. So how many people can use this cellular network? So if you see here, according to the data, each band require 25 megahertz. So if we divide 25 megahertz by 30 kilohertz, we'll get around 833.33. But in reality, we cannot divide channels like this. So we can approximate it to 832 channels. So out of 832 channels, it is clearly said that 42 channels are used for controlling this voice signals. So if you subtract this 42 channels from 832 channels, totally 790 channels are available for cellular phone users. So by doing this, we can clearly divide how frequency can be used with the help of multiplexer and demultiplexer. So we'll move with next topic, wavelength division multiplexing. So wavelength division multiplexing is designed to use high data rate of your optical fiber. Even your wavelength multiplexing is an analog type of multiplexing. So what is this optic fiber? The optic fiber has a higher data rate when compared to metallic transmission cable. So using this, instead of wasting a single line for the available bandwidth, you can multiplex and allow several lines to transmit simultaneously. So this is an conceptually same as your FDM, except multiplexing and demultiplexing is not involved in your optical signals. So it is a very narrow band of light which flows from source to destination. So at the receiver, signals are separated by demultiplexer. Combining and splitting of light are easily handled by a prism. Maybe in your plus 2 you have studied about this prism experiment. So whenever a light enters a prism at a particular angle of incidence and frequency, the multiplexing can be done so that several light signals can be converted into a single output beam. So similarly for demultiplexing, the reverse process is done where a single optical cable can be demultiplexed into different lights of different wavelength. Here wavelength is denoted as lambda. So one application is it is used in SONET network in which multiple optical fibers are multiplexed and demultiplexed. A new method is evolved which is used for a large number of channels which are close to each other. With this technique, you can achieve higher efficiency as the loss involved in the data is reduced. So the next technique is time division multiplexing. This is one of the multiplexing technique which is digital in nature. So in order to multiplex your bandwidth which is divided with respect to the time, we will allow the process by connecting it to the several digital process of different bandwidth or which shares an high bandwidth. Instead of sharing a portion of bandwidth as in your FDM, here time is shared. So each connection will occupy a portion of time in the link. So your time division multiplexing is a digital multiplexing technique which combines low rate channel with an high rate channel. So basically your time division multiplexing is explained like this. So each of the channel will have a particular time slot to work with. As seen in the diagram, your time division multiplexing is divided into two different schemes, synchronous and statistical. So you can see here there are four systems or hosts that are trying to communicate with the channel 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So when these channels are passed to the multiplexer, you can clearly see that there is a time slot divided. So within this time slot only 4 can transmit, 3, 2, 1. Similarly, the bandwidth is divided with respect to the time slot. At the demultiplexer, all the signals are again splitted into its composite or its original signal. So the time slots and frames. In synchronous, the data flow of each input is divided into units where each unit occupies a particular time slot. A unit can be 1 bit, 1 character or 1 block of data. Each input can occupy 1 output unit as well, but the duration of an output time slot will be shorter than the duration of the input slots. So to understand more about this, consider this example where data are taken from each channel with the time slot A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, C3. So when it is passed to a multiplexer, C3, B3, A3 is transmitted as frame 3, C2, B2, A2 is transmitted as frame 2. Similarly, C1, B1, A1 is transmitted as frame 1 with the time T. So what is the time slot for an individual channel? So the time slot would be T by 3 because there are 3 channels. So in a synchronous time division multiplexing, a round of data units are used and each of them is called as frames. If we have n connection, a frame is divided into n time slots and one slot is allotted for each of the time slots. If the duration of input is T, then the time for each channel will be T divided by number of channels. So in your synchronous time division multiplexing, the data rate is n times faster than the duration of the shortest time slot. So here all the time slots are grouped into frames and frame complete a single time slot dedicated for each of the devices. So we will take an example. This figure shows a synchronous time division multiplexing with data stream for each input and one data stream for the output. The unit of data is 1 bit. Find input bit duration, output bit duration and the output bit rate, output frame rate. So there are 4 channels with 1 Mbps and this is the data that is traversed. So we'll check for the solution. The input bit duration is inverse of bit rate. What is the bit rate? 1 Mbps. So inverse of bit rate will be 1 microsecond. The output will be 1/4 of the input according to the statement. So it is 1 by 4 microsecond. The output bit rate would be inverse of output bit rate duration or it would be 4 Mbps. This can be deduced by the factor that output rate is 4 times faster than the input rate. So the total output rate will be, there are 4 channels. So 4 into 1 Mbps which is 4 Mbps. The frame rate is always same as the input rate. So the frame rate is this many frames per second because we are sending 4 bits for each frame. We can verify the result by the previous question by multiplying the frame rate that you have got with the number of bits. So this is about synchronous time division multiplexing. So we'll go ahead with the second type of time division multiplexing, that is statistical time division multiplexing. This is a time division multiplexing in which slots are dynamically allocated to the bandwidth. So depending upon the request, the slots are assigned. The input line has slot for data to send if and only if it has a output slot frame. In statistical multiplexing, the number of slots in each frame is less than the number of input lines. So again it works in round robin fashion, that is each channel will get the chance once every channel or every line has transmitted the data. So here we'll see the difference between synchronous and statistical. Here if you see, so the channel E gets the access first and E2 is sent, D2 is sent, there is no transmission for C and there is transmission of B2, and similarly if you check here, there is no transmission in link here. In the second frame, that is frame number 1, you are transmitting, there is nothing to transmit in line E, D1 in line D, nothing in C, B1 in line B, A1 in line 2, I mean line A. So this is the diagram of synchronous time division multiplexing. But if you see statistical time division multiplexing, here since E2 is the first frame to be transmitted, E2 is transmitted, D2 is transmitted, but it will not allot a channel for C because there is no data to be transmitted. So it dynamically allot the data for line B and transmits B2, and it will not allot for A. So here if you see, only 3 channels are used for E, D and B. So the 2 channels which were utilizing the bandwidth are avoided in case of your statistical time division multiplexing, because the channels are allotted in a dynamic way. Allotting a channel. So this is about time division multiplexing. I'll stop here. Thank you.